So, Mr. Wolf, I don't know if you've noticed, but I did a thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it was an interesting thing. I had some thoughts, and I decided to put it on paper. And for one reason or another, some great folks at Xbox Era decided to publish it. I don't know if you saw this thing.
I did. I did. I'm very, very happy for you.
Had to do this mama I made it moment.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
We got to plug this sucker for sure, because let me tell you, this is something to be proud of. Kay, honestly, you made it to one of the big websites, Xbox Era. It's no small time. It's definitely a website that has grown over the years into a
Mhm.
place to go for Xbox, and I'm super happy for you when I saw you kind of hinting at it, and then eventually putting it out there for us to kind of go over and give our
Mhm.
thoughts. I couldn't help but feel super, super happy for you, dude.
I appreciate it. No, this is cool. So it just thoughts, right? There's no tea being spilt in there at all. It's just me and my and you if you guys have heard me speak on these various topics, this will be nothing really new for you. It's just me
Mhm.
crystallizing my thoughts on where I think we're going and why people should stop complaining about it. That's
Definitely. I
literally
mean,
what it
look,
is.
whenever there's going to be change and we're well aware of it, there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
kicking and screaming that takes place, and then there comes the acceptance phase, because
Mm-hmm.
either the individual that's bothered by the change stops caring, or they just say it is what it is, and we gotta go along for the ride.
They go through the various stages of grief and acceptance becomes the last one. I get it. I get it. It
Exactly.
is what it is.
Until something finally just comes their way, and they say to themselves, "I've seen the light."
Mm-hmm. Well, so needless to say, if you haven't checked out the article, I suggest you do. I had a fun time writing it, putting it together. It is basically my thoughts on the future of consoles in general and Xbox specifically, because, yeah, say what you will about them. I think they lead the console initiatives, even though, yes, PlayStation is the market leader, and I agree wholeheartedly with that. But I think that based on the fact that whenever they innovate, the others tend to follow. Whenever they do something, it tends to be important. So I
Yeah.
put it out there, put my thoughts out there. I hope more people check it out. It's cool. I had a good time writing it. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I would say welcome to this show that we like to call the Gamers Playground. This is the show where we, hang out. I hang out with my buddy, Mr. John Wolf. We talk about games. We talk about handhelds, PC handhelds, regular PCs, big PCs, small PCs, all
Oh,
PCs.
hold the press. Look what we got here. Look what we got here.
Ah,
There it
thank
is.
you.
Xbox Era showing
Yes.
their love.
What's going on? Good to
That
see you guys here. That's awesome.
that's
You know,
amazing.
so so yeah, please, if you haven't done so, check out the article. Pretty awesome. And they featured me. Like it's a featured thing. I'm just like, wow, that's pretty cool. Anyway, thank you.
For sure, for
But
sure.
yes, I'm your host, K Asante, TKO Asante on all the places we communicate. And of course, I am joined this week, as usual, by my brethren, Mr. John Wolf. Good evening, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Look, last week was pretty epic. I'm riding a high that I've been
Mm-hmm.
riding since Monday, with
Mm-hmm.
the reviews of the ROG Ally X, and then eventually getting my hands on it, and then eventually watching Deadpool, Wolverine, and my love for comics and movies
Mm-hmm.
coming back
Oh yeah.
in one fall swoop, all in one week, because it was awesome. No spoilers. We're not going to go into spoiler
You gotta
territory,
stop that. Yeah, that's
but
right.
we
No
we
spoilers.
if you haven't gone to go see Deadpool, Wolverine, and you are a comic book fan, if you are an MCU fan, if you are a fan of just movies, go and check it
Mm-hmm.
out. You're gonna have a good time. And
Yep.
yeah, man, we spoke earlier today. You know how hyped I am about the future and the potential about the MCU. I'm pushing you so that we can do an on the real, just focused on the state of the MCU and where we think it's going, because things are getting interesting, man.
Absolutely they are. Absolutely they are. So I enjoyed my time. I'll say I think out of all of our group, I think I may have seen it first.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
and I've been biding my time and holding my tongue all this time because
Oh
I'm just like,
man.
We have to wait till the people see it.
I
But
know.
now I want to go do my homework, and I'm not going to say anything about what I mean by that, but you understand what I mean
I know what you mean by
that.
that.
Yes, I've done my homework, but I need to go redo it to rekindle the fires, as it were.
Right.
Needless to say, this is not the Talk About MCU podcast. This is
Even though
this
it
is not
should be
on the
today,
real.
kind of thing.
Yeah. This is the time to. I would say I would call this episode One More Time with Feeling, because this is the time where I want you to regale the public with your experiences of the ROG Ally. I will also talk a bit about this old boy right here. This is the 1X Player Mini, which is anything but mini. I feel like this is like walking into the biggest, baddest dude you've ever seen and calling him tiny. It's anything but mini, but it is mini compared to its bigger brother, which is like 11 inches. It's a huge thing. So on that note, this is definitely the mini, but I'll talk more about, my experiences playing with this thing, and I want to hear your stuff. But you know what? Let's start with you. Because last we spoke with you, you were very disappointed, right? You were about to like walk into any FedEx/UPS store you could find and just start throwing bows. I understand, because they were being a little shady with you in their delivery delivery situation.
Weirdest thing ever, okay, but it ended up resolving itself by Wednesday morning.
Okay.
But I was on like the app, the FedEx app kept on telling me that it was out for delivery on Monday. They gave me a window. Then it changed and they gave me another window. And remember, I told you I'm super excited about last week's show because we have the potential for the first time ever to get our devices on the same day, talk about them and just show them off or whatever. And unfortunately, something was up with FedEx, their systems. They're blaming it. They blamed it on CrowdStrike. I feel like that's the new COVID excuse. Everybody's going to blame it on
Isn't that the big excuse?
Yeah, I have a feeling that that's going to be the excuse from now on every time something goes wrong. But eventually I got it on Wednesday. I set myself up. I put in a 4 terabyte drive in it. And I'll get into my thoughts as soon as you're ready.
Okay. No, actually, you know what, bro? I want you to go for it. So obviously, if you're excited about the handheld craze, if you're excited about the where we are with it, you've heard obviously that they have released not a new standard, but I would venture to say it's not a 2.0 device, although many of my friends who have it say it does feel far more premium in the hand. I was talking to MJ Dark, who tells me that they literally went and stole, you know how the MSI Claw went and stole a little bit of the ROG Ally's thunder and kind of smooth. It's almost like they went, oh yeah, you could do that, so we could do it too, and basically recreated the MSI Claw, but as a yeah. So a lot of people are excited. People are excited. People are talking about it. We've been a week removed from since when people had it in their hands.
Yeah.
What has been your experience, sir?
Yeah, just about. I think, Kay, that overall, my less than a week, because Wednesday would be a full week, but less than a week with the product. After seeing the reviews, and all of the positive, I guess you can say, thoughts that people have had on the device, I am with that crowd. I think that ASUS definitely put their best foot forward here. There are a couple of things in the back end that I will get to that I find as negatives, but let's start with the positives, because there's a lot of them.
Okay.
Like for example, the like Everborn was saying on Saturday on the GCP cheap plug. Listen to that after this show if you didn't listen to it on Saturday.
Okay.
It is a heck of a refinement on the same product that they released a year ago. They basically said, let's improve everything from this device and make it better, and without getting messy. Obviously, I've come to the realization of a couple of things, through our various shows, through our Discord chats, through our private chats, and all that good stuff. We are in a place right now where every single device is going to have its benefits, its pros, and its cons. And I feel like if this device it took a lot of the cons from the first revision and it turned them into pros. So the only cons left on the device are very little. So they almost got the ROG Ally, their first release. They almost got that to be one of the best handhelds in the market, in my opinion. And again, everybody's going to be subjective, and everybody's going to have a different order, and stuff like that. Ergonomics right off the bat. They did we got a special guest. He's joining us right on time as we start talking about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. MJ Dark. Welcome, handheld master, sir. How you doing?
How you doing, sir?
I'm good. What's up, guys? Thank you for having me on. I just got a few minutes, and I definitely wanted to.
Yeah. And you also got your hands on the Ally, so we're going to get your opinions as well.
Yeah. I'll hand off to you, MJ, since you don't got a lot of time, brother. I was talking about my thoughts on the device so far. Less than a week having it, sir. I'll leave the floor to you so that you can give your thoughts.
Yeah. So I had the original, ROG Ally, and it was a device that I tried for a good amount of time, and then afterwards it was sort of like, okay, let me see what happens next. This next iteration, and now that I've had this, let's just say 1.5 iteration, it's a solid device. I was telling Kay earlier that the minute I opened up the box and I kind of been playing on this device, it definitely feels solid. It feels like they took a lot of the feedback and they made those changes. It's not heavy. I know some people say you can feel the weight, but I guess knowing I have an X1, right, and that's a 10.95 device.
What do we have here? Wait a minute. I thought that was gone, sir. What's going on?
It is gone. So this, real quick, this is a quick project that I'll be doing. This right here is Mr. Boomstick XL.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait a minute.
I suspected you'd be like, ooh, you bought another one?
Yeah, I was like, what's going on here?
I bought it for like $2 because that's how much I think it's worth. No, just kidding. Calm down.
Wow.
Calm down. No. I think this is going to be a really good device. I'm going to set it up console style, plug it in, make sure Boom can like just play with it on a dock, that kind of thing. Maybe I'll do some videos on it, show how it's done. But yeah, that's why it's here. But please continue.
Okay.
Dark.
MJ, let me.
There he is.
Hey, there you go.
What's going on, brother?
Let me jump in on something that you just said right now about the weight, because that is something that we have heard some reviewers talk about, right? We got the 1X Mini over here. Well, that's the 1X Pro.
That's
look,
the big bro.
That's the thing of the fox.
But
that is huge, bro.
To piggyback on what you're saying, I do agree with you that some people were kind of talking about the weight of the device, and I'm with you in the same camp that I don't think it's that much heavy, especially the fact that they doubled the battery. But go ahead, continue.
Yeah, no, it like I said, this is the K Asante talked about his X1 Mini. This is the larger variant X1, which is a 10.9. So I guess I didn't feel as much as the weight, but like I said, I've been playing Path of the Goddess. I've been playing some of these AAA games that kind of invest myself into, in some indie games, and overall it feels solid in the hand. I like the analog sticks. Like you, I performed surgery and I installed a 4 terabyte SSD.
Yep.
One of the things that I would love to give feedback.
So hold on, just a quick question. If someone were to acquire a 4 terabyte SSD,
sure,
roughly how much would that cost a person?
So I got a 990 Samsung drive that was currently on sale. So I would say about $213 with tax.
How much did you pay for yours, Mr. John Wolf? Do you recall?
I think I paid about $230 something.
Okay, so $230 something. Add to the price of the ROG Ally X, so about $11, $10, $30,
$1,100.
Yeah,
$1,100.
Just about up there.
So on average, if you're gonna buy an ROG Ally X and then give it the storage you think it needs, you're in about $1,000 territory. Okay, just wanted to check.
Yeah, no. I think when you come down to depending on the type of user, you are gonna spend a little bit more. So, I guess what you're trying to go to with K is that depending on the device that you want out there, whether it's something you go into like a Best Buy or something, you're going to pay a price depending on what you need. Meaning, do you want more RAM? Do you want more storage out the box? There's some people that say, hey, you know what? 1 terabyte is enough for the type of player that I am and the type of games that I install. So like I said, I did surgery on the ROG Ally here. I put a 4 terabyte, and one of the things that I do think that maybe in the next iteration that they need to do is I think they've done a lot of things that they took from the modding community. I was surprised that I was able to get I got the 990 with the heatsink, and it's a little bit up. It's thick, a little bit thicker than usual hard drives. And I was able to prop it in there, but they need to make it easier for users. And the reason I say that is when I look at your X1 Mini, where you can just go back of the screw and just take out. There needs to be some sort of mechanism that they can do with the device. Yep.
Right here, literally those 4 screws there, you unscrew them, this whole piece pops out, and you can literally place your drive right in there, close it back up. No need to move the back plate, nothing. It is the way all of them should be. Please continue.
And the reason I say that is that it needs to be easier for the average user. I would also love to see ASUS. One of the things that John Wolf and I and most of the individuals that got a ROG X didn't know was that you may need a heatsink on this device because of the fact of the amount of heat. And again, I didn't see it on ASUS's website, but I think these are some of those minor things that they need to communicate, especially if you're a device that you can just walk in into a store and you're going to have questions by either parents or other people and say, hey, my I want to upgrade this. SD card cannot always be the solution, even though it's there, because people may want bigger than just 2 terabytes or 1.5, excuse me, at the moment. The one thing I would say that after I've used this device, if you like the ROG Ally, it's great. To me, I'm not a person that likes a 7-inch display. As you can see, I wear glasses, so some games are hard. So for to kind of read the text, I was trying to play, I think, Cyberpunk, and some of the text with the black background and the red just didn't look right sometimes, and I think that's a scaling issue. And the battery so far, like I said, I've tested it. So I played some games. I was playing Path of the Goddess, and it's definitely an improvement over the original one. What I would say to users that maybe have an ROG Ally, and this is just me, if you have an ROG Ally, I think you're fine. It's the same chipset. What you can do if you want to maybe do some enhancements on you that I can provide is there's an adapter that's like $6, right? And if you're comfortable, you can open up the ROG Ally and actually buy a 2280 SSD. And it actually props nicely into the slot. There's a cool power bank that you can put in the back of the Ally that you can literally get cheap. And again, if you're near a if you're like me, sometimes that I even have these 65-watt battery devices and never really need to go out more than 4 or 5 hours, I think you're fine with what you have right now. But if you're an enthusiast and you like doing those mid-gen upgrades like you did on your console, like you sometimes do on your PC when you do the spring cleaning, you're like, I need more RAM and everything like that, then sure, but I would wait for a sale. But overall, like I said, John, I would come on here and say that I think it's a solid device. I think if you don't have one and you're looking for a device that you can walk into a Best Buy or to a retail store and get, then this is the device to get. If you don't like the screen, I still think the Lenovo Legion Go is another great device when it comes to the screen size and what it can do. The RAM, honestly, even though I have 32, it's a hit or miss on games. And when you look at most of the time when you're benchmarking some of the actual RAM that games use, some of them use 4. What happens when you're going to have more RAM is that you just have more stability on what you're trying to hit when it comes to certain metrics. But overall, I just think, to me personally, if you have a ROG Ally or Legion Go, I think you're good. I think what we're going to see is kind of Strix points and kind of like the next iteration of handhelds where we're really going to see some of those things. Cool.
Nice. So let me ask you this. Now that you've had it for less than a week or almost a week and you've been playing on it, are you planning on keeping it in your collection?
Yeah, it's definitely. So I'll say this, right? I have different devices, right? I have the X1 that meets the purpose of that's where I play my big budget games. The one thing I don't have, besides, of course, my Steam Deck, which I love, and I think that device is amazing. This is now my Windows variant in the sense of if I want to go out and play some of my Game Pass games, like if I'm playing Path of the Goddess right now, I'm playing it through Xbox Game Pass, so I don't have it on Steam, so this is my device. I like this device. I wish they would have done a 0.4 on the display, because when you look at the Steam Deck OLED, that 0.4, even though it just seems minor, it's definitely a big improvement over the LCD version, and it just, I just feel, fine. I don't care about an OLED because I still think the panel on this, just like the X1 and the X1 Mini, they're amazing IPS panels. So they definitely have some nice colors. I would just say, hey, ASUS, make it 0.4 to kind of make it a little bit larger, or thin the bezels out like the One X Fly.
Yeah, definitely in the screen size, I'm with you, because going from the 1X player to that I have, which is 8.4 to, or 8.2, I'm sorry, to back to the 7-inch ROG Ally screen, there is a big real estate difference there. But again, when we're having these conversations, we're talking about ourselves here and our likes. And
for a quick thing, let me just show what we're talking about here. You don't see it really clearly here, but once the screen brightens, you should be able to see it. That little bezel up there, and like exactly these bezels up here and there, all they needed to do was thin them out just slightly. Yep. Keep the same form factor, thin them out slightly, and you would have gotten much more of a good look, right?
It would have been a difference.
You don't even need to change the panel, because the panel itself is excellent.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the One X Fly, people look at the One X Fly from One X Player. That is what makes that device look unique in the sense of more real estate, even though it's the same screen size. It just, that bezel-less sort of thing. It's kind of like when I went from the LCD switch to the OLED, and they decided to slightly thin out. It just gives you more real estate, and it kind of tricks your mind like you have more to work.
Now I will tell you, and again, this is just trick of the eyes, okay? Because the device is now solid black all around.
It doesn't bother you as much.
It doesn't bother you as much when you're playing, because when you're holding a white device like the original, and you do have those black bezels, it does kind of stand out. It's still 7-inch. It's not gonna help with anything. Like all of a sudden you're gonna have a bigger screen, but you kind of do get more immersed into the action. At least I feel. Than I did with the older device, and I use the older device a lot. That's why I say that. So in everything that Dark was saying, I agree 100%. Now, in terms of the actual device, like he said, very solid, very, the ergonomics, all that good stuff. One of the things I think that it's very important to talk about that we address, because it's the big selling point in this device, it's the battery. You can't go around it. You can't try to bypass it. It needs to be addressed, because in terms of battery life, that, believe it or not, like, to me, and I could be wrong here, maybe you guys have a different opinion than me, because of course we all like different things. I think that most consumers care more about battery than they do about anything else, because the thing is that it's a portable device. The point of a portable device is to take it with you on the go, and for you not to be hooked up. That's always been my thing whenever we've had this conversation about, PC handhelds and kind of like where we wish that they went, even with Strix coming up and hoping that batteries last longer. And even when the original ROG Ally came out, right off the bat, we talked about it. We said we don't think that this was a good choice by them, and we kind of wish that they would have put a bigger battery in it.
So let me push back a little bit, because even my boy, the Black Viking, is in here, and his take is exactly where I was gonna go. He says, "Not me, baby, tethered forever."
That's so fine, but
let me be clear. Right, the benefit of PC, right, which is not the same as console. It's completely different, because console people come to it for a specific purpose.
Yes.
PC, since it's open-ended, lots of people come to it for different reasons. Some people insist on frames beyond anything else. Others think resolution is the best. In this instance, right, I will push back on you and say, if battery was the sticking point, a lot more people would be upgrading to the series, the Ally X, right? But because they kept the chipset the same, and yes, there are still benefits that you get with the X. That's not denying, right? But because it's by and large the same, and the big selling point is battery, there are many who don't necessarily think the battery. Now, let me get this absolutely clear here. I am a battery person, right? I roll around with this thing on battery most of the time. I also have a battery bank in my backpack when I roll around with it, but by and large, I roll around with these things battery only. And the type of games I play aren't because, oh, I have to have the longest battery, but I tend to like indie games right here. I'll play Dungeons of Hinterberg right here or on my Series S. I don't know why, it just feels better in the hand with a game like that, right? You won't be catching me playing Cyberpunk on something like this. I could play it, but it doesn't really thrill me to play it here and then have to turn down the ray tracing and turn down this and turn down that to make it run smooth as butter.
That's why you get the X1. That's why you get the X1.
It could do it, but I choose not to do that because I have options. I have a PC that can do it as well. There are some people, example, Boomstick, right, who will put this thing just like they do their Switch docked in and never take it out, right? Although it is a handheld device, some people dock it, make sure it's there underneath their TV, and they never take it out.
I would question their purchase.
No, that is not for you to question at all.
I would because and the reason I would question their purchase is because I would tell them, if you're planning on just having a device docked and under your TV, you might as well just buy a mini PC.
No. But see, that's not to be agreed with. You know why? Because you know what? Say what you will, and I've advocated for mini PCs, but a mini PC will then require you configuring your own front end. This thing comes with Armory Crate, day and date. All you got to do is hit the button and it's there, right? There's a reason to own this and not make it a handheld device, even though it is a handheld device, right? This is the point I'm trying to make to you. People come to PC with a lot of different options. The man, in the case of Boomstick, wants to play No Rest for the Wicked. This is the cheapest, most simplest entry point into that. He's already got one. He used it for what it's meant to be used for. He didn't care for it. And then I convinced him, bro, you can use this exactly like your Switch. Keep it plugged in.
Yeah, he's
use the exact
it.
same controller. Yeah, because it's actual use case he did not care for.
Right, but again, like, and this is again my pushback to anyone saying that you buy a handheld to be plugged in all the time. Yes, sure, you can do that.
Yeah.
There's not a problem with that. But if we were to do a poll, I believe that the poll would show more people saying that they're going to be out and about with their portable device.
I believe that you will be wrong, because I know many people, many proud Switch owners who never take it out of its dock. And the Switch is the reference design of handheld devices. They never take it out of their dock.
Can you guys hear me?
Ever.
Yeah, we can
hear you. Joanna,
yeah, no, I think that what this offers is different. What I'm trying to say is, and Kate's trying to say is that this offers a different dynamic. And for instance, yes, I have now an ROG Ally X and I have a X1. But guess what? When I look at me personally, and again, this different use case, this is what's great about PC, because there's a device for the type of user you are. When I look at what I usually spend like 2 hours just taking my kids and waiting for them in the car, I usually have enough battery. I don't dock my devices, but when I do, I have the ability to. And I think that that just offers you a lot of different ways. And I just think that as we're talking about this, one of the things that I feel that they did, and talking about Armory Crate, is that they did a great job so far with Armory Crate and being able to kind of navigate in there, launch your games. But it still doesn't tackle the thing about Windows, which is something I think that it's not only on ASUS, but ASUS.
Don't forget one thing though, and this is very important in this conversation. The chipset in these devices for older games and for indie games, you can push it on your monitor on your big screen TV.
Well, but this is the point I was trying to make.
The manufacturer, hold on. But let me just say this: the manufacturer, the target for these devices are to play at the target resolutions on your screen.
But this is where you're wrong, though, because you even just proved your own point wrong. What happens when you plug this into a proper ASUS dock, a proper ASUS power plug? It goes up to 50 watts, which is not meant for when you're on the go, baby. They know there are people in this audience who will want to blow it up on their TV screen. Also, and for them, they have it way over what the battery will allow.
High
because they knew you would want to use it that way.
High TDPs is diminishing returns.
Yes.
We have the INEO. You know, we're not going to say the name. And it's a 75 watt device that can go up to 54 TDP for what?
Yeah.
For like what, one frame? And I think that's where we
so the frame to TDP ratio, it's not about frame, it's about actual using more resources to blow up to the higher resolution. Not necessarily the frames, but higher resolution. Like, honestly, John, I understand what your use case is. I am just positing that yours is not the only use case, because even these guys,
I never said that.
Even these guys specifically allow you to dial it past its battery capability point for those who choose to use it in dock mode.
And I understand what you guys are saying, but again, to someone walking into a Best Buy and picking up an ROG Ally, I would put money that they want it for a portable device rather than something that it's gonna be plugged in under their TV.
The ROG and the Steam Deck now makes sort of an affordable version of a PC. And for someone, you know, one of the things that I was
the toe in the water
on an article that I wanted to write was, if you wanted to dip your toes in PC today, you can go and get a ROG Ally, a Steam Deck, a Lenovo Legion Go. And then with the many different launchers that are out there, you can technically get a taste of PC gaming without spending a dime by just signing up to, like, you know, different launchers, Epic Game Store. If you have an Amazon account, Amazon Games. And now you have an affordable way of saying, you know what, let me learn the PC landscape through this device. And then eventually, hey, if they do like the ecosystem, they can then say, you know what, this is my portable on-the-go extension of my PC, and I'm going to build myself a PC to kind of have one that gives me the bells and whistles that I want to play.
Yeah.
Understood.
That's all we're saying, right? We're just saying that the vast majority of individuals won't buy this specifically for battery life. There are many ways to enjoy these type of devices. But please continue.
Understood. The bottom line is this: the Nintendo as a manufacturer, Valve as a manufacturer, made sure that their battery was as best as can be out the box, and they have kept on tweaking and tweaking and tweaking. Why? Because they know that their target audience that they're selling this product to, these handhelds to, are going to be portable players, or else they wouldn't do it.
I would agree to disagree on this point, because again, I have a lot of folks in my DMs always asking me, and my first question is, what's your use case? And it's not always battery life. It's not. A lot of times it's not battery life. It's, hey, I want to see what this whole PC thing is about without having to build my own. Hey, I want to get into the waters as cheaply as possible. Hey, there are many reasons.
I never said that there weren't many reasons. I just think that battery, okay. So my words got reframed a little bit here into saying that battery is the sole purpose why everybody
you're saying that it's the primary reason. And I'm just saying it's not the primary reason for everyone.
Manufacturers are finding out that it's important because Nintendo set the standard for that. And then Valve came in and they did the best that they could based on the chipset that they're working with. And here comes ASUS saying, this is the best that we can do with the chipset that we have currently. So it is, in my opinion, something that they are paying attention to. They're not saying we're going to release a device with the lowest possible battery so that you guys can be plugged in all the time. That's not enjoyable. Nobody wants to have battery anxiety. Nobody wants to use a device and then be worried that it's going to turn off on you on 10 minutes. So it's not the way.
Before I bounce, so the Switch was made because Nintendo wanted to kind of make a hybrid device, right? And that device was supposed to be a console, and then of course the bonus was to take it on the go. And yes, ASUS with this 80-watt-hour battery has solved an issue that has plagued, I guess, PC laptops for the end of time, right? Laptops, you buy them, gaming PCs, they last 40 minutes. What we're trying to do, and we hope going forward with PC handhelds, and we'll see with the Switch 2, is that how can we not always rely on an 80 to 90 or 100-watt battery, but get the most out of our games, meaning at a lower wattage, so that if I have a 55-watt and I do want to take it out, and I'm one of the use cases, as you were saying, what you identified as a certain customer that takes this on the go to commute, then now not only do they have a battery that they feel good, but they know that they can still play the games without going to a 25 to a 30 watt TDP.
Yep.
And it's bonus, and it's great if an 80 watt is what they need, and then we're going lower and lower. But the key thing about this overall thing is about how can we play the games that we enjoy at a AAA level at the lowest possible wattage, so we can get a battery that just feels like it's magic overall. And that's, I think, where we want to head overall.
Yeah.
Hey guys,
So you know what?
I just gotta go.
Go be parent, man. Go be parent. We appreciate you, sir.
Thank you, man. Thanks for passing by.
Appreciate always having the back door. Let me in to kind of talk, and appreciate it. I'll be
pause, sir. Anyway.
All right, take care, guys.
What I will say later, MJ Dark. What I will say is let's let this conversation go off in the chat there. Put a poll up, right? And I made a plain and simple.
Yep.
The question is, what is your priority in a handheld? Is your priority the battery? Is it a PC entry point or other? Right? And if it's other, put it in the chat and let's talk about it. Right? I am in no way, shape, or form discounting your thing that it's important. I'm not saying it's not important. Absolutely. And that's the reason why a lot of these manufacturers are offering that, right? I get that. All I'm saying is because PC offers so many options, it tends to be many options for many people. I know people whose priority is frame rate. They don't care about anything else, just frame rate. Can I hit 100 and something frames per second? If not, we got a problem, right? They don't care if there's whiz bang on the screen. They'll debilitate the image to as all they need to in order to make sure that they're consistently over a certain frame rate, right?
Understood.
All I'm saying is, in the waters that we're playing, not only is a lot allowed because it's an open-ended platform, right? Everyone must be allowed to come to it with their own preferences. And it's not only just battery. And that's not to say the battery isn't important, because if you put battery in and it's debilitating and it doesn't get the job done, nobody's trying to buy that, right? But so is the screen. We live in a world where let me show off some handhelds here. I have my A1 Pro right here. Great device, only 60 hertz screen. I'm like, you know what? I want a more hertz on my screen. I have the Ally OG right here. Great hertz on the screen, but it's kind of crushed. And for me, honestly, if you're 16:9, I'm not talking to you these days, right? So for me, this device does the job.
Let me
gives me
jump
the
in.
hertz I'm looking for, as well as at least an 8-inch screen. But that's not your use case. That's specifically mine. Okay, right? And there are others. Please,
what would your opinion be if they would have put a 40 watt hour battery in your 1X player?
No, but see, just because.
But answer the question.
No, but that's a dumb framing of the question, though. Just because
Why?
I don't think it's the most critical. Just because I don't think it's the most critical doesn't mean you put something that's below standard and I'll go, ugh. Because here's the reason why I say that. When I was buying this, did I know that an 80 watt hour ROG Ally was on the way? Of course I did, but I still bought this because for me, as long as you got 65 and you give me other features that I think are more important, I will forego the 80 for 65 because there are more important things.
And you're entering the compromise stage. Because you're compromising.
And you think that an 80 watt with 24 gigs and a 10-inch wide 16:9 screen is not compromised? See, that's not a compromise you think, but to me, a 16:9 screen is a compromise. Everyone has one.
There's a compromise everywhere you look, but the point again, to go back to my point here, in a portable device that's meant to be for portable play, that's what the manufacturers are designing this primarily for. We're getting to the stage where manufacturers have to up their battery game automatically because
don't get me wrong. On that, we don't disagree. Right. And you and I have had this conversation before that I feel like this game now, it's very much like VR, right? It doesn't matter if you have this, some people prioritize this over that. If you come with a great feature, now that feature becomes standard, and that's the barometer that other people judge you by, right? So whether you're there offering like the greatest battery life or not is not the point. The point is, hey, the ROG Ally exists now. So when you make another device, if you come way below that metric, people look at you soft because, hey, this is a small industry and we're growing and everyone builds on top of each other. So don't get me wrong, please. I'm not saying that, oh, we can take our battery life or leave it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that to assume that that is the sticking point of all handhelds is belaying the point, because people prioritize screens as well. People prioritize RAM as well. I, for one, as I see you in the chat there, Lucius, I'm waiting on the day when Strix Point and Hawk Point become a factor in the equation, because I want to play my 24 TDP or watt TDP games at 15. To me, that is a more optimized use of power to performance, right? Doesn't mean that the battery can be 40 watts or 30 watts. Of course not, right? They all need to, it's like saying my arms are important, so skip leg day. No, they all need to be at a certain level, but I'm just saying that some people prioritize, some gamers prioritize some features over the other. So just like you would not sacrifice battery life for other things, some people will sacrifice some battery life for performance, right? I did. Remember, I could have bought an Ally X. What I actually did, and I don't know if people remember this, I sold my OG Ally, right? Knowing that the Ally X would have an 80-watt battery. Instead, I bought this guy because it has more of the priorities that I want than an 80-watt battery with a 16:9 7-inch screen, right? Somebody else would forego something else in order to get the Ally because, hey, man, I'm on a bus, I'm on a train, I need that battery life. Other people don't have that. Speak to Infinite Umbra. He's like, I'm plugged in wherever I am, baby. I don't need that 80-watt-hour battery. Some people have different priorities. That's all I'm saying, right? I see you in there, Mr. Game Talk, Game Tech Talk. The man does great reviews. I'm sure, and he had his hands on this baby before even I did, right? Like, he gets his hands on many a device. And his priority, he said it in the chat, his priority is power more than anything else, right? And that may not be the priority of everyone, but to him, the priority is power. With power, you can be flexible in addressing to match the way you wish your handheld. Low TDP if you want battery, high TDP if you want performance. Everyone comes to it in a different way. All I'm saying is don't assume, now, that's not to say that the manufacturers don't push on all cylinders. Right? If your priority is battery, doesn't mean your screen becomes debilitated and whatever. No, that screen also needs to be top notch. If my priority is performance, doesn't mean that you come at me with a 30-watt battery. No, the battery also needs to be top notch. I'm just saying the consumer who walks into the store won't just think, oh yeah, I'm here for the biggest battery. That's all I'm saying.
No, but they'll ask, how long is the battery on this? Because that's a standard question for devices.
Sure. But they'll also ask the storage. They'll also ask the power. There are lots of requirements.
But the battery's going to be up there.
To be met.
But the battery's going to be up there.
Okay.
It's going to be one of the top things that they ask, and that's the point I'm trying to make. Again, I'm going to praise ASUS here for what they did. I'm going to say that them pushing the battery to 80 watts from the beginning, I said was a good thing. And I hope that one thing that other manufacturers follow, which I think that already MSI said that they were, they're also putting an 80-watt battery into one of their devices. So I think that 80 watts until we get to the point, like Lucius was saying, with Strix Point and all this good stuff coming. We need a bigger battery because the chipsets, they just can't optimize them as much as we would like anymore. I think that they squeezed that lemon for as much as they could for now.
I mean, yes. I actually have to commend them for being able to squeeze out even more juice out of the what do you call it, the extreme chipset. You know, they've been able to do good work. Every time I do that, people
extreme.
But yes, you know, back in the day, the cartoons, it's extreme. Anyway, but let's move on because I want to talk about both my tale of sadness and some interesting things.
Sure.
Some very interesting things. Okay, so my tale of sadness is, and this is why to this very day, anytime anybody asks me what hardware you should buy, I say buy the one that has the best warranty, right? Because sometimes you lose the silicon lottery. You just do, right? It doesn't matter what kind of device you have. And as I am a guy who tends to play on the edge waters where there are hardware devices that you can't find at the store, whenever I lose a silicon lottery, which happens, then it's a pain in the butt trying to return it to manufacturers and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
I do have a warranty program that I've signed up to, which I should actually let more folks know about, where I pay a certain amount of money And then any device in my home from a technical perspective, any kind of these handhelds, if anything happens, I pay a small service fee. They replace or they repair it for me. Up till now, I think I've been a member for almost a year and a half, and I've gotten about $3,000 return in them replacing or repairing it for me. Now, I say that to say, with AFMF 2.0 on the horizon, they recently released test drivers for it, right? Now, two things that are sad about that. One, if you still have a portrait display, that is not something you can use. And I know that because I just tested Ghost of Tsushima on this, which has a portrait display, and it still doesn't work, which sucks. It really does. I've been investigating. Maybe I'll talk to the Fox and see if he has any tricks up his sleeve for that, because like I want to be able to use it. Now, first AFMF wasn't that great. It wasn't, it wasn't blow your wig back. I've been able to test it on a few devices, and you can definitely see that the artificial frames being inserted don't necessarily make for the smoothest of experiences. It increases latency, which we all know. And at least in its first iteration, it was a little bit sluggish. It just was. It was a little bit sluggish in my opinion, right? But by all accounts, AFMF 2 looks to up the ante there, right? And I was like, you know what? Let me try AFMF 2. Let me see what I can do. Now I have a few devices here. I have my A1, my 1X Player Mini. I have my A1 Pro, both who are portrait screens. So I won't be able to use those. So instead, I went to try and use it on my GPD Win Max 2. Okay. First, I turned it on. Works great. Installed Ghost of Tsushima. Enabled AFMF. My goodness, even on test drivers, it is promising. Like smooth. It is promising. I mean, 80 frames per second right off the bat. It is promising. Now, of course, this is a 60 hertz screen, so anything above 60 is diminishing returns, and you won't even get to see the full 60 because most monitoring software won't see that. You'll have to use the internal AMD software for it to show you the proper frames you're getting. It was about 80 frames per second. I had dropped the TDP TDP to about 15 watts or so, which usually gets about 40 frames per second, right? And I've played it enough to where you can do that, right? And yes, I have done lossless scaling for a long time. Lossless scaling was better than AFMF 1.0, but I would venture to guess my small amount of time playing with AFMF 2.0, lossless is now behind the 8 ball. This was really smooth, like perfection. It was
That's
good.
promising.
But of course, 15 minutes after I started playing with this thing, this guy started having issues on me.
Oh,
I'm
man.
like, huh, that's weird. First, my keyboard wasn't working. I'm like, okay, maybe it's a driver issue. I reset it. Oh, now the controls aren't working, but the keyboard is working. I'm like, oh, it's definitely a driver issue. So I'm like, you know what? I'm sick and tired of this. I'm just going to use the quick settings to reset to re-image the operating system. Now it's on and you can't see anything on the screen.
Wow.
And it's been on. Yeah. So it's like,
so you think that the driver messed it up, the preview driver?
No. If it was an actual, no, definitely not preview drivers. If it was an actually driver issue, once you go and start reinstalling Windows, all bets are off. It defaults everything. You don't have to put everything on by yourself. So I feel like this is somewhere hardware gone awry, and that's what's happening here. But again, the reason why it's more annoying than really painful is because I'm just gonna, slide into my service and be like, hey man, my mini laptop busted. They'll be like, oh really? What happened?
Is your name K Asante again, sir? This is how many devices have you broken, sir? What's going on with you?
They have not given me a limit of devices, so I will use it as I can.
We're gonna have to drop
basically, basically, I will send them this device. I will put the serial number. They will go and they will research how much this device costs retail, and if they can't fix it, they will send me a check for that amount.
Nice,
great service. Yeah. So I suspect in my near future that may be what I'm doing with this device, which is so damn unfortunate because my holy grail, what I wanted so much, was to have a device that was native landscape, or to have a solution that allows for proper AFMF use without having to go all the other way around. Because yes, I use lossless scaling. I enjoy lossless scaling, but I wish I could just use the software that was built in it. But
Well,
needless to say, that's not
you do
the
know
Mhm.
that there is a device that just came out last week that has a landscape display. I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
but that thing is 16. That's a 16 by 9 1080p. At 1080p, it's what's the point,
Gotcha.
right? This is 1600p. I go down to 1080p in order to get some overhead. If you're already at 1080p native, what's the point? Yeah, you can go to 720p, but you know you know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
Like, talk to me when AMD, or you know what? I'll up the ante like this. If we wake up one day and hear that AMD, in addition to increasing their chipset to a chipset with more prowess, they're going to 8 inches or more as far as the screen size, and they're going to a higher resolution.
Oh, you mean ASUS, not AMD?
I'm
You
sorry,
said AMD.
ASUS,
Yeah,
ASUS.
yeah.
Forgive me. Meant ASUS. You know, and they're going to like a higher resolution, like 1600p or 1440 or somewhere within that line. Then you'll see me look at them again. It's not about the hardware because as you know, with this service that I have, it doesn't matter what hardware I have. I can always just submit it if there's a problem.
Right.
So I'm inoculated there. It's just I need a bigger screen and I need a bit more power, right?
Understood.
So unfortunately, it is what it is. And actually, yours cannot use AFMF properly unless you slip in real drivers
Mhm.
and disable the signaturing that Windows gives you. Otherwise, you're only stuck using the official ASUS drivers and not AMD.
That is a fact. Yep.
Yeah. But yes, that is my tale of sadness. But don't worry about my tale of sadness. The good thing about all of this is AFMF 2.0 is looking pretty interesting. It really is. Like, it's smooth. They're like I've only got to test it with what do you call it? With Ghost of Tsushima, but it was quite impressive.
I was watching a video that Floodzilla put on our Discord today, which, by the way, you guys should join because some good conversations happened there. But there's I watched the video through, and it kind of came out of nowhere. That's the thing that surprised everybody. All of a sudden, they're like, "Oh, by the way, 2.0 is out," and everyone's like, "What? Excuse me?"
Yeah,
they kind of did that.
Well, they should do that,
there.
man. They should definitely do that because isn't that exactly the same thing that happened with DLSS? DLSS 1 was around, people like, okay, this is interesting. And then they went 2.0 and people went, huh? And it actually started going better for them in their next iteration. And hopefully, if past this prologue, it looks like they're actually doing pretty well in this space. And hopefully we'll see more and more adopt that thing. It should be interesting to see how it works. Now, before we get back to it, let me catch up with this 2 quick super chats here.
Yeah, sure.
Floodzilla with a $2 super chat. He says Linux is in the house now. Is it in the building now? Really?
I actually worked on something that we can go over.
Okay.
Linux related.
Also, Angry Hippie, nice name, $2 super chat. He says battery life has always been a problem. Game Gear. Hey man, I too remember the 16 batteries that I had to keep on my Game Gear in my pocket, and then it would die for like in like 30 minutes, and I have to put 16 more batteries in my pocket. I feel you, bro. You know, yes. Oh, and he of course he's in the chat. So Kay wants stop it. We're not even gonna finish reading that because the innuendos is terrible. Anyway, so Mr. John Wolf, I will ask you on the topic of AFMF 2.0. How do you feel? Did you use AFMF 1 on your device? I know it took a while to get to the Ally, like, you know, and yes, I know Kirby Zero Louise likes to call it the fake motion frames, which it is, right? But if it works well enough, you don't even notice. And I feel like 2.0 might be there. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I haven't tried it out personally, but I did see that Floodzilla did kind of put that out there. So I started watching the video that he did, and I saw one more person talk about it. And you're actually the second person saying that it looks like it's working out pretty well, which is pretty promising. Again, I will definitely try it out with the 1X player that I have. And I'm excited to kind of.
Is that a native portrait? Is that a native landscape display?
Oh, you're right. It's portrait. Nope.
That's the issue.
That's a strikeout right there.
Issue.
You're right.
Yeah.
So I don't have anything to try it on unless I try to do something with the ROG Ally.
I might play with this one and do it. It won't, like, I feel like it's diminishing returns at that point, but you know what? Actually, no, I'm wrong. Since this thing does have a 120 hertz screen, I think
it's 120. Okay, I'm gonna step away for a second. I'm getting called real fast from work. Okay,
no worries,
I'll be right back.
worries. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. So yeah, needless to say, you know, it's an interesting look, right? For those who tend to have handhelds that could benefit from the higher resolutions, I have a feeling it might not actually not be great, not be bad. Yes, sir, I understand it is fraud motion frames. I understand it's fake motion frame, but you know what? Netflix is 4K, and somehow, some way, y'all watch it and have no problem, right? That tells you that when it gets to a certain level of clarity, then it doesn't really matter if it's 4K or not. It's good enough K. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. You know, we shall see. We shall see. It's again, I only had a very small amount of time with it, only a small amount of time before my device decided to, you know, go to sleep on me. But for the 30 minutes that I tried it, I gotta be honest, it was quite great. It was quite great, right? It was really good. Like enough where I could see people go, okay, now it's worthy, right? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's outdoing DLSS at any moment. I'm not saying that, you know, and still when it comes to like when it comes to what do you call it? RSR and things like that, it's still very, very spotty, and you know, it still looks like it looks. I think there's still a lot to be done there. But the fluid motion specifically, I think has come a little bit a long way here as far as what you used to expect from it and what it looks like now. So I guess what I'll ask in the chat is, please, if you use it, let me know. I know a lot of people use one of these guys, right? And I think in its later driver incarnation, they did allow fluid motion frames and stuff like that. AFMF is now an option. If I recall, before I even sold mine, they started putting it in their command center so you could use it, right? So if you do, what has your experience been? Is it something something worthy? Is it something that's worth your time? You know, in NVIDIA land on my big PC, I use that pretty frequently because most of the games that I play on here like would benefit from it, right? It's the difference between 80 frames and 144 plus, right? So on the DLSS side, it definitely works pretty well. So far on the AMD side, which in my humble opinion, where it needs it most, because it's a handheld and you know it's always a compromised experience. That's where having a good scaler and a good frame generator would be very useful, because as the man was talking before he left us real quick, battery life tends to be the most critical in those scenarios. Less TDP you use generates more situation, which actually, speaking of that might also be a little bit of a sticking point, because if I'm not mistaken, even though you're using less battery, it does use some of the resources to generate said frames. So it might be diminishing returns on the battery savings, right? So we shall see there, but I'll be honest with you. I was kind of impressed with what I saw. I as a guy who runs many a AMD device, right, in a handheld context, I'm looking for AFMF to get good enough to where it becomes a standard turn on and go type situation, right? I have not gotten to a point where it's useful yet, but maybe this is now the time. Now, another thing that I will then bring up on there, and I see you still in the chat there, Game Tech Talk. My brother, the Fox, has found ways around some of the limitations of portrait displays, right? I know that some of the portrait displays brings about issues where some games just can't scale and orient themselves correctly. You know, you have to do a lot of background work in order for them to scale properly in the quote unquote landscape flipped orientation, right? But I haven't seen as much work being done to somehow correct AFMF not being a problem. You know, maybe somehow insisting that, because if I'm not mistaken, and please correct me if I'm wrong, AFMF looks at your target resolution, right, and how it reads, and then uses that to enable the fluid motion frames or RSR as well. And since flipped resolutions have different numbers, even though they look exactly the same as a standard, they have flipped numbers. So because of that, it tends to debilitate the process of getting AFMF working, right? Even on my A1 Pro here, for example, if I were to turn on AMD's like internal resolution monitors, you'll see it like show, instead of it showing up here like normal, it show up down here because it thinks that's the top of the screen, even though it's here, right? Internally, it always knows it as this, even though that's not how it's how we're using it, right? So I guess my question is, like, and this is to the chat in general. Are there those out there who use devices that have native portrait displays? I guess in the normal buy it off of Best Buy context, that would
I'm
be
back,
the Lenovo Legion Go. Hey, what's going on, man?
Yeah, I'm back.
That'd be the Lenovo Legion Go or something of that nature. Do you guys use that? And if you do, is this a problem? Because I feel like I'm probably one of the only ones yelling at the clouds all the time going, will this be the device? I was so looking forward to this being the device that is a landscape display. And then it wasn't, but it had other reasons for me to purchase it. So I'm happy with it. But still, and actually to Dr. Dry Rub's point, one of the main reasons why I ended up still buying this is because lossless scaling is pretty damn good. So I can deal with not having it, right?
Yeah.
But much like you, sometimes you want to stand on your square, and I am standing on my square like, damn it, if all devices are supposed to be like this, then why the hell do you keep giving us devices that are natively scaled?
No,
like
it's kind of like
it's the worst.
It's kind of like if they have a warehouse full of displays, portrait displays, and they're like, we got to use them all.
We just got to use them all. Like, come on, right?
Yeah.
It just bothers the hell out of me to have to go find other solutions when you could just And there's so many of them out there right now. Like there's so many.
I got you. I'm with you.
I either need a third party solution that isn't lossless scaling. And what I mean by that is I like the lossless scaling, but I'm talking about a tool or a device that will literally force AMD's software to think it's landscape instead of portrait, right? I need something like that because I want to be able to turn on AFMF and have it work.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I
understand. No, I understand. And the thing is again, look, the thing about these devices that it's kind of a bummer, and it's just where we're at with technology, is that they're expensive. Okay. And the problem is that, when you do make a purchase, you hope that the purchase that you're making on the device of your choosing is the one size fits all, right? The one that covers all your bases. And that's why I think on this show, I think we're pretty adamant about continuously saying that the perfect device unfortunately doesn't exist. You're gonna have to weigh what's the most important things to you and then make the most conscious purchase decision that you make that's gonna make you happy. So overall, the 1X player, the mini that you have, I think other than just some of the features that it's missing, like the portrait, I think that all of the pros will outweigh the cons.
Yes, and by the way, I am also working on a review myself. I will not be as good as Game Tech Talk. Pro tip: go watch his video. It rekindled my excitement for this device. I wasn't wrong.
It was really good.
Phenomenal video, phenomenal editing, phenomenal production values. The man knows what he's doing. The only thing that I will say to this very day that beyond the whole portrait display thing that bothers me about this device is, so it's funny, right? This device is made by a company called AOK Zoe, right? This device is made by a company called 1X Player. They are sister companies, so they share almost everything. And what do I mean by that? If you were to right now, like press the turbo button on both of them, they look identical. One is green. And of course, I misrepresented that. Hold on, let me show you. One is green and the other one is red. They share exactly the same, the button layout, the whole situation. The problem is I am so used to using, and that's actually a big reason why I bought the 1X Player, because I love their software. It's simple, it's clean, and it's out of your way. You don't have to worry about it.
I agree. It's solid.
And you know too, because you have a 1X Player.
Yep.
The problem is they've always had the turbo button literally right here. So whenever you need to get to it, bam, you hit the button and you're in there and you're doing what you're doing, right? Because of the detaching on the side, yours is on the top. There you go.
Yep.
Because of the detachable controllers, they moved the turbo button to the top. So now I'm the one who tinkers and I like to dial in my settings just right. So at any moment's notice, I want to hit the turbo button and then it's up here and I'm just like, oh, what the hell? Like this is
I gotcha. I mean, the thing is, that is a thing because believe it or not, like this is something that I'm having like, and this is gonna sound funny as hell, but I do mean it. so far in my week that I've had this thing, the ROG Ally X, since it's like stealth black, right? That's what I'll call it, stealth black.
Yeah.
And when you're like in a dark room, dude, the buttons kind of hide on you. I'm not gonna lie. To the point that I'm like, oh wait a minute, okay, so the menu button's on the top, the start button is over here. Thank God that I remember the
place. You don't have the muscle memory.
I don't have the muscle memory. I don't. I don't. I because I've been using the 1X player, so it's been kind of like a relearning kind of experience for me. But I get exactly what you mean.
Yeah. So it is what it is. All these devices, no matter how good they are, always come with their caveats. Some of them do better than other things, right? Absolutely. Some of them have monster batteries and crunchy screens. You know what I mean? Like they all come with something that you have to give and take for. But yes, hopefully one day we'll have that Halo device that does it all to at least a good level.
So let me ask you this, Kay, and I know and I know that you're hosting, so I don't mean to pivot like this.
Please, go ahead.
Let me ask you this, because we've Dark came in and he gave his thoughts on the device. It's okay. I'll give my thoughts later on, so that because we're past that time frame now. So let me ask you this, for where you're at with your device right now, the 1X player, and for me, why don't we talk a little bit about kind of like what, like, for anyone that is to buy one of these devices. And you guys talked about this a little bit on Saturday, and it was a great conversation that you had with Lucius Augustus, yourself, and Everborn. And it's funny because I'm literally sitting there listening to you guys go back and forth and have a great debate, about Windows and handhelds and all these things. And I can't help but laugh because I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is incredible that I had to literally uninstall so many programs from the ROG Ally X, your Windows Office, your all the Teams, Microsoft Teams, etc. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I messed around with Bazite this weekend. So going from Bazite and jumping back and forth, because I installed it on an external SSD, and jumping back and forth, I'm almost convinced that if they could just figure out the few hiccups left for Bazite to figure out and for Proton to figure out, I may change sometime when those things come. Okay, and I'm gonna be honest with you. Why? Because again, look, I've become the Windows power user. Okay, over my time. I understand Windows. I know my way around it. I know how to get it to the form factor that I want, right? That is almost like a few day experience for me to get there. It's not a 5-minute thing. So in my question for you, are you what are some of the things, Kay, like so that the good people can kind of know your use case with your handhelds? Do you try to make it as console-like experience as you can, or does your PC sitting there on your desk kind of mirror what your handheld experience is, and you just launch Steam and game and whatever the case may be?
I understand exactly what you're asking. So, and I see the embattled Lucius in the chat. And he was embattled on our show, and he had a lot to say, and he is now not on our show, so he doesn't have much to say. So I'm going to say it, and he's not going to be able to retort. So,
I got you, Lucius. I'll battle you on his.
behalf. You battle on his behalf. So what I will say is this, right? Everything you are saying, as far as your complaints about having to decropify Windows,
oh man, it was horrible.
It's very valid, 100% valid, right? My retort to that is, when Windows CE was the back end of a Dreamcast, did you see Word on there?
No, not at all.
Did you see? Exactly.
Yeah.
Because when Sega Dreamcast, when they were building it, they were like, look, we're going to use this, but it's going to be for our use case. We're going to use it as a backbone to make our operating system, our UI shine, right? Lucius keeps comparing the version of Linux that's running on the Steam Deck,
OS,
like he does
Steam
OS, which is not really Steam OS. They call it Steam OS, but it's basically an open source flavor of Linux that they've co-opted for their purposes.
Let me
right?
just say this though: when you do turn on your Steam Deck, right, or you do install Steam OS, one of the things that I wish that Windows did was that, okay, you get your big picture experience, but when you do need to go into the Linux side of things, it's a cleaned out experience. There's barely anything on there. Go ahead.
Well, but the point is, right, since Linux is an open source platform that you developer can pick up, or you vendor can pick up and co-opt for your use case, right? You do that, right? So that it becomes your specific flavor, your specific slice of it, right? That's the reason why. And Linux as a native operating system has a lot more modularity. So what you don't need, you don't install, right? What you don't need is not available. You can add a lot more on top of Linux if you so choose, but you don't need to do that because you're building a handheld, right?
Right.
The issue is, now, don't get me wrong. We know it's the worst rumor. It's the worst secret in the world. Microsoft is working on a handheld and blah, 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 blah. We know all that. But today, in the year of our Lord, today, they do not have a handheld. So they are not telling you, consumer, to use this device for handhelds. What they are doing is they are allowing third-party vendors, a la ASUS, sometimes 1X Player, all these others,
Lenovo,
to use it if they so choose, right? Now, just like Sega, Lenovo can insist, nah, fam, we're gonna hide as much of the seams as we want in order to make sure that when you turn it on, all you see is our baby. Or they're just gonna roll the native default version of the operating system. What are they choosing to do? They are choosing to roll the native default version of the operating system. Now,
is there
let me be clear.
that, though?
Let me be clear, right? You can't turn the Windows of today into how Linux runs. Yeah, you could remove the shell. There's third parties that have been able to do that. You could remove the Windows shell, you can clean it up, but like the stuff you want to install, that is low-hanging fruit. There is no reason why print spooler drivers services should be running when I turn this on.
Agreed.
There's no reason why all of those should be running, right? Yes, there's incentives for them to use Windows, so they use Windows. Maybe Microsoft will throw them a little bit of a bag, or they'll do some kind of business co-opting. But that does not stop you, ASUS, who's a billion-dollar company, from doing exactly what Valve did. Guess what? Valve even paved the way. So if you really, really wanted to, you could lean on Proton, because Proton does not belong to Valve. You can literally do exactly what they're doing and have your own flavor of Linux if you so chose, right? So while I do agree that Windows could and should do more, Microsoft should, and we know that they're in the background doing more, and eventually we will see that, hopefully sooner rather than later. The idea that the only one that gets beaten up on this is because Windows has a bad operating system, I will say the excuses lie with A1 Pro. The excuses, it's with A1 Pro, the excuses lie with 1X Player, but with ASUS, there is no excuse for you. If you think the underlying operating system could be better, you have many options, including rolling your own Linux variant. You choose to put Windows in it, right? So when it does not conform to that seamless experience, I'm not going to sit there and go, screw you, Microsoft. I think ASUS deserves some of the blame as well, because they could have chosen to do something else. Hell, they can choose to just go into standard Windows and remove print spoolers. They can remove this, they can remove that. It took a bunch of developers in a weekend to roll Tiny 11, which installs with bare bones Windows. They could have done that with this. They could have done that. They choose not to, but ASUS, but Lon wants to just make ASUS feel good and just keep blaming Microsoft.
I think that there's business that dictates some of these decisions. I think that business is dictating that if ASUS is partnered with Microsoft, they have to offer the full Windows package.
No, but listen to Dr. Dry Rub here, right? ASUS doesn't want to do that because it's not just a gaming handheld, it's a portable computer, right? These are choices that ASUS is making. It's not to say that their hands are tied, right? You just like we were talking about before, some people buy it for the battery, some people buy it for this, some people will sell this and buy it for their kids, because now when you're in a small ass dorm room, you can connect it to a monitor, put a keyboard and mouse down, and now you have a full PC. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
So because of that, they are making choices, but you can't then forgo them and not give them the smoke if you handheld user think this thing should be more streamlined.
I just personally think that from like looking at the landscape of these devices and the benefit of me being able to be blessed enough to buy different ones and different variations from you know, Android devices to x86 devices to the Steam Deck, et cetera, et cetera. I think that like them having their eye on a Windows portable device, I think that for the most part they're doing the best that they can. I'm only speaking in terms of setup for a user. It takes it literally like it. I'm not gonna say that it's debilitating, because it's not. You're excited with your device. You want to log in. You want to download all your stuff.
It takes far too long to get into your games.
There you go. And the thing is
you're right.
It's being sold as a gaming device first, right? That's what the main selling point is. Sure, you have your other selling points here and there, but literally to get you to get started on a game, you have to do the whole Windows enrollment thing. You have to do the log onto this. And I do remember that the experiences I've had with the Steam Deck, while you're going through those same things like setting up your Wi-Fi, logging onto your Steam account.
But remember, again, the reason why I say it's unfair to compare the Valve. Yes, I understand from a consumer perspective, they're both handhelds, but Valve is not taking an operating system that you can just buy off the shelf and then putting it on the Steam Deck.
Understood.
They churned that operating system to just be the backbone of their specific device.
No, right? I understand.
You are the big company, could do the same. Instead, you're choosing not to do that.
No, I understand. I understand your point that you're trying to make with that. But again, in to criticize the companies of the ASUS's of the world, the Lenovo's of the world, the 1X players of the world, them heavily relying on, for whatever reason maybe, we can speculate till the cows come home, but I will say that most of the time these decisions are based on money and contracts. Okay.
Yes, and it will probably require a lot, because I can do it, and I spend at least some time, and I'll share a pro tip on how I do it. I'll give you like a cheat sheet a little bit. But the time it takes to deploy your own custom variant of Windows that then removes all these features, they don't think the ROI is worth it. Hey, people are just going to go in there, install it anyway. They're going to clean it up if they want, and then they move on. It does not save them money.
And I wish that they would think about it a little bit more. I wish that they would take the time to tailor that experience, so that their goal should be, how do we get the player, as soon as they turn on, to game as fast as possible.
And you know what? This is why I will not let this sit when Mr. Lon Lucius Augustus, who I love like a brother. He's my brother. I love him. He has come to my house. He has seen my kids. This is all fun and games we're doing here. So please don't take it as anything else but that, right? But the reason why I will not let him get away with only blaming Microsoft is, if we push these vendors to get this done, they will. But as long as you keep blaming Microsoft, they have no reason to do any of that.
But
they just out for the money.
But Kay, let's take a step back. And I get your reasons. I think that, and I think you have a lot of great points when you're making on why the manufacturer should be held accountable too, and to somewhat
as well. Yes.
And somewhat I do agree to a certain extent, right? I think that the reason that it goes back on Microsoft, it's because their history kind of shows that when there's an initiative or a change of technology or something coming, right, what happens is a lot of the times they rely a little bit too much on manufacturers, and they don't put in the work themselves.
And on that, I don't disagree with you. I
think that's why some of this criticism comes.
My only pushback to that is, until you see them, Microsoft, offer you a handheld, something that looks like this, and it comes with a debilitated version of Windows, you can't really expect them to account for every use case.
Right.
This is not them in the forefront. Because let me tell you, before you even knew the name of a Steam Deck, there were people rolling Windows on these things. Like way back in the day, people were rolling Windows on these things. Way before Microsoft even knew or cared. It was Valve, Steam Deck, and now ASUS and a few others that have brought it into more of a front of the front of the pack to make people see this. People have been using Windows for this, using Windows for so many different variations on things for a long time. Now, obviously, the dirty little open secret is they're working on a handheld, right?
Yeah.
So now everybody expects them to iterate, right? I am not saying they are without blame. Don't get me wrong, right? Because what Everborn Saga said was actually pretty valid, which is even take away the handheld nature of it, Windows desktop gaming still has so much to be desired.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's not seamless. It takes long to get the patches you need, all of that. Now, I can give you reasons why, but none of those reasons matter. If you want gaming to be well received as on your native platform, then you need to work faster and you need to get it better. I get all of that.
I would personally...
I'm just saying the native vendors, and I'll cut slack to these guys because they sell a few 100,000. They're not moving millions. They barely sell a few 100,000. These guys are your bespoke mom and pops, right? Whereas ASUS is Nike. I expect Nike to do better.
Okay. So I think that I think that the premise of this though is, again, as power users that we are, we can get around some of these things, right?
Yes.
And,
so let me share what I think you, for those who want to get around this, if you don't swim in those waters, there used to be a piece of software called Windows Decrapifier. That's what it was called. And what you do is, and it might still be around, but it hasn't been used for a while. And the idea was the first thing you do once you load up Windows is you install Decrapifier and you hit go, and it'll just systematically remove some defaults, ask you if you want to remove this, ask you if you want to remove that.
I'm downloading it right now.
Well, there's that. And then there's a script called Windows Debloater, and that's what I will show you right now.
Sure.
Like that is an interesting piece of software that I think might be useful here, right? You can literally go, and it's a GitHub app, meaning it's by and large a free app you can do. I'll put it in the chat. And basically you go in, right? And you'll see what the script will do. It removes telemetry, which, let's be honest, you don't want them watching you because that's what telemetry does. It removes location tracking, which I might keep that, because location tracking, in case you leave your handheld somewhere, location tracking might help you find it. Although, think again, location tracking also depends on Wi-Fi, depends on GPS.
Let's be real.
Necessarily give you GPS.
Let's be real. Does anybody use Cortana? Let's be real.
Well, not anymore. Cortana's not even installed by native on this stuff. Yeah, but on natively, Cortana's not really installed, but this is what all the stuff it checks for, right? It checks to see if it's there and it removes it. It checks to see if it's there and it removes it. There's a lot of these things. Look, see, there's a long list, and by default, it removes some of these things and it disables some of these things, so that when you're doing it, I said this before, Tiny 11 is a flavor of Windows you can buy, not buy, but you can download.
I think that might
be the way
to go. I think that might be the way to go, and I'll tell you why. Because again, look, bouncing back and forth from Bazite to Windows.
Yeah, but hold on. Like one quick thing that Game Tech Talk is speaking truth to. Some of these other applications have requirements, have dependencies on what's built into Windows.
That's true.
So if you remove telemetry, you may have something that doesn't work here. You may have something that doesn't work there, right? So these are all the back and forths you must be careful of when you're going through this. But by and large, if you're one of those people that really wants to claw back your performance and all of this, this can help Windows. Like, for example, Tiny 11 that I'm talking about, it can help Windows run under 1 gig. Under a gig of your whole hard drive. Now it's running under a gig versus the 5, 6, or 7 gigs that it defaults to. I'm sorry, continue.
No, it's okay. Yeah, let me get some bars in here. So from jumping back and forth from Bazite to the Windows experience, right? Trying and then me trying to mirror that experience as much as possible, because that's ultimately, I think that Valve got it right, in my opinion. Now, that's debatable again. Remember, everything I say, it's my opinion.
of course,
I'm not
of
saying that
course.
that's the default, how everybody should think. In my opinion, Valve got it right, where the gaming handheld that you're buying, gaming is front and center. The PC stuff is the cherry on top, right? So in going, whenever you go from Bazai, right, obviously, to Steam Big Picture mode, that you go into the Linux variation, it is a clean experience that there's barely anything installed on there. It is nice and clean, and it's
They don't
basically
have
a
any
blank
incentive to sell you anything.
It's a blank canvas, and they say make with this as you will, right? And I think that is a lot better than what Windows is doing now and what these manufacturers are doing. Whoever you blame, you have your reasons. But I think
again,
it's better.
Again, understand why though, right?
I
there
do.
Could be a flavor of Windows that's made only for handhelds. That doesn't exist. So all these people just roll your standard fare, and then they keep all those things on there because, hey, ASUS, if you keep all of these on there, maybe we'll throw you a little kickback. Maybe we'll
absolutely. The money rules the world. So that's absolutely probably the reason. So it's just that in my opinion, if they were to have just a clean canvas install of Windows, where where Internet Explorer or whatever it's called now, I don't even know what it's called now, Edge is installed there, and maybe and that's about it. And then you go and you download anything that you want or whatever. I think that is the better way to go with these devices than the other way around, where it's like, hey, we're going to give you everything and then you uninstall what you don't want. And I understand it's a business. If they don't advertise things, people may not know what they are. People won't use it. People won't subscribe to certain things like Office, et cetera, et cetera. So at the end of the day, it is a business thing, right? So I guess that because business dictates decisions in this case, I think that for people like us that are looking for a streamlined experience like what I'm trying to explain, I really do think that we have to look at the alternatives, like you said, like the tiny 11s of the world and stuff like that.
That's right. Yeah. If you want to swim in these waters, right, and you have two choices. A, find yourself a vendor that prioritizes the game focus overall. If you do, you'll find one that makes sure that everything is in service of you getting to your games. Valve is one of those people, right?
I understand. I get what Lucius is saying. I agree with that, right?
And this is Lucius being wrong, because let me tell you, I appreciate OneDrive synchronizing my handhelds, because if I have an emulated save, like I'm playing some old game somewhere that doesn't have cloud saves, I make sure my save location is in OneDrive, so that when I pick it up here, the same save is when I pick up here.
I think there's some points on both sides, right, to take a look at, right? And I think that at the end of the day, this is not an excuse for Microsoft again. I want a clean as possible OS as soon as you pick up one of these handhelds. But I understand, absolutely. But I can also say that I understand that Microsoft Corporation is not going to give us that. Why? Because they have things to sell. And they will eventually. I
suspect they will eventually, not right now.
I am not convinced of that, Kay. I think that if this Xbox does have a back end in order to get to a PC like environment, I think that you are going to see Microsoft Teams on there. I think that you are going to see these things, because again, Microsoft as a whole, they see that as a potential user that they can offer a product or service to.
So that I disagree with. This is not them purposely going, hey, they have an ASUS device, we'll sell them 365 on there. No, it's that Windows doesn't see you as a handheld device. They have no incentive to go, okay, now we know it's a 7-inch handheld that's being used for gaming, so let's remove all of these things that are unnecessary. No, you are just rolling a standard version of Windows on a standard PC. Read the article that I have, another cheap plug. Read the article that I have on Xbox Era, and I posit that in the future, where they open the door officially to their Windows experience on various handhelds, when Lenovo can do that, when this person can, when all these others can do that, you will then see a profile that goes, oh, you're on a 7-inch handheld, I know what you are. You're on the whitelist. So now all of a sudden it will remove this and it will remove that. You know what I'm saying?
But
Today,
the weird thing
they have
is,
no
right,
incentive to do that.
I understand what you're saying. And again, I'm not, look, my pushback to you is not pushback that I think that you're wrong, or that I think that
Sure.
you what you're saying doesn't have any cadence. My pushback to it is that it's counterintuitive to a user, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah,
When
sure.
you turn
I don't
on
disagree.
when you turn on the device, it asks you, what do you want to focus on? And
Yeah.
you specifically pick gaming. Then why are you
Yes.
giving me Microsoft Office?
But do you know why that is? Do you know what that is? That has existed before handhelds even used them. Why do they do that? They do that because when you enable gaming, it turns off background processes that can stop games from playing at their optimal speed. That's all it does. It doesn't turn anything else off. That was available when you rolled Windows on a desktop. This is my point. You have a one operating system that is a use case for the entire world. Banking systems use them. All manner of devices use them. They are not profiling for a 7-inch, 8-inch device. Not yet. So you have to manually turn the cranks. And if you, ASUS, don't choose to do that, you can't blame the vendor that just offers an operating system for everybody.
Yeah, so I get where you're coming from. I understand your point. You would have liked in the same vein where Valve did what they needed to do to understand that this is a gaming device.
All I would say is Dreamcast and Xbox OG didn't come with Windows-ness, even though it had the Windows kernel.
Right. So
they made it specifically for that.
So you think that, yes, obviously we can point the finger at Microsoft, and that's the easy thing to do. However, looking at each manufacturer, it's hey, step your game up because Valve did it. And if they did it, you guys can do it too.
Thank you.
I understand where you're coming from.
So if all of a sudden ASUS now has a variant that only runs on Linux because they think that not everybody, if they think the value proposition for someone like a John Wolf goes, hey man, I want this game to run perfectly. So now they have a Linux variant. Maybe that will push a vendor like Microsoft to go, you know what? Maybe we'll offer a better operating system that optimizes better, right? Like you guys, as in ASUS, as in Lenovo, as in some of these other companies, are selling these handhelds today. So the onus is on you to make me, the consumer, have the best experience today. When Microsoft is offering specifically handheld capable software, then I'll have smoke for them. But they're not. They've been selling you standard Windows for God knows how long, and y'all are buying it and putting it on these things. It's not their fault. It's not. It's not. When they start selling software specifically for that purpose, or when they have a handheld that then also brings print spool drivers in the background, then Lucius, you and I can have a conversation and I'll be like, absolutely. But until that day happens, and today we live right now where ASUS is gladly selling you a device that comes with freaking Teams, even though you know you don't need it, with Office 365, even though you don't need it.
Well, they're all doing it. It's not just ASUS.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't care why they're doing it. I don't care what the monetary incentive is. If the vendor whose money you are buying, whose money you're giving, which is ASUS and not Microsoft, if they feel like that debilitated experience is good enough for you, then they're the ones that deserve the smoke for it. They chose to put Windows on it. And what does Windows come with? A bunch of cruft today. They did that. Valve could have done that. What did they do? They said, nope, we're not even going to give you we're not even going to like roll Red Hat or some popular variant of Linux. No, we're going to make sure we make our custom kernel that's specifically for our gaming purpose. These companies could have done that as well. They chose not to do that. So the idea of only giving Microsoft smoke for this not be working, I'm just like, come on. I too want Microsoft to clean up their app, no doubt. I'm not only going to give them smoke for it.
So what you're saying is that for now we got to put the gun in the holster on Microsoft until they release
it's like you pull it out and then you put it back in the holster.
I got you. You got to put it back in the holster for now until that handheld comes out, and until we see how they handle the bloat on their version of a handheld space. So I understand. I understand where you're coming from.
Now, a year and a half, 2 years from now, we see Microsoft go, hey, we now have this new initiative where we're letting all these other guys make our handhelds. Another cheap plug. That's the vision of the future. Go check Xbox Era. That's the article I wrote. It posted today. If you see that, and this is their official handheld variant or whatever, and they have their own version of first party, and now they're allowing ASUS and all these other companies to use it, and it still has this BS, then hell yes. Open season. Criticize all you want.
Understood exactly the point you're making. I also understand. That's why I'm telling you, I listened to the show on Saturday, and to piggyback, I understood both sides of the argument, especially
and to be
the
clear,
debate.
I don't think Lon is wrong.
No. It's not about
system needs to be better. It needs to be faster.
Just like
you need to be able to get to your games faster.
Just like every conversation on planet Earth, there's truth on both sides. Okay, and there's facts on both sides and opinions on both sides. So, okay, I'm gonna say real fast because we're coming up on past an hour and a half. We're getting close. Yes. So I will officially send out an invite to Game Tech Talk if he would love to be on our show anytime.
Absolutely. I've actually spoken to him in the DMs. We're communicating. He will definitely be coming on the show.
That's great.
We'd love to have you for this conversation, sir.
Absolutely.
Great reviewer. I've watched a lot of his stuff at this point. Love what he does. So definitely want to have him on the show.
Let's take it a step further. That open invitation is for anyone that tunes into the show, because this show is just me and Kay shooting the shit. We're just talking. We're just giving opinions and our thoughts on different things. And you guys everyone in the chat is welcome. All you got to tell us.
Except for Lucius, who
hold on.
Have you seen what's the name of that movie? Darn it, now I forget the Pixar movie where all emotions are represented. He is anger. His hair, he gets mad.
Hey, I mean, he feels strongly about something. I totally get that. So Lucius, I am also a co-host here. You are absolutely welcome.
Absolutely. Of course he is. Of course he's welcome.
So, and that open invitation is for anyone, whether you want to come on and spit your bars about what device you prefer, why you prefer it. I like consoles and I ain't switching no matter what. You're welcome. Come and talk about it.
Yeah, I agree. I completely Inside Out. Thank you, MJ Dark. Yes, he is anger from Inside Out, who happens honestly to be my favorite character in the whole movie. He's my favorite.
Dude, I was pleasantly surprised how good that movie was.
It's a good movie. It's really good.
really good movie.
Yes. I enjoyed it. Yes, I enjoyed it. I watched it with my kids. Yes, but no, I wholeheartedly agree, and that's why I like having Lucius on the show. He pushes. He has very good points. Very good technologist in his own right. You know, he likes to play the consumer surrogate, which is what you should play. Absolutely, right. But he also knows his technology. You know, I love
MJ Dark says, "I'm coming to defend the Switch too, John." And you know what, MJ? I hope just for you they put a 20 watt-hour battery in it, just for you.
Yeah. 20
I hope they put a 20 watt-hour battery. I really do.
And then of course they have like such amazing innovations that it will outlast most battery life, and then everybody will be like, it
runs on 1 TDP.
Hey man, you never know, man. You never know. These guys are prolific in their pursuits. But anyway, I think we're at the end of it, sir. What do you think? I think we're at the end of it.
Yeah,
and you know what I want to do from now on, since we're at the end of it, before we get out of here, I want to talk about a game that we're playing. Like, if you leave here right now, what game will you be playing, sir, before we get out of here?
I am currently playing Assassin's Creed Origins on the ROG
you're playing
Ally
Origins.
Yep.
You're playing Origins. Excellent. One of my favorite games. I love Origins. Origins is great with Abubakar Salim as the head, as the lead protagonist's voice. That's awesome.
Yep. I'm early. I'm really early in the game, but it's running well on the ROG Ally X. And if I want to bump and save even more battery, I'm also subscribed to GeForce Now. So you pick your poison.
You're sitting pretty is what you're saying. I feel you. That's great. Now, as for me, and those who know, me and Everborn Saga enjoy not agreeing, but he gave me a recommendation last week, and since then
I played this yesterday.
Not been able to put it down.
Yep,
and that is Soldiers.
I played that yesterday.
It is so damn good, man. Hard as hell, but really, really good. Super fun. I'm enjoying my time playing it.
Look at Lucius says, John Wolf, you joke, but the current Switch has 16 watt-hour battery, sir.
Oh yeah.
I hope I hope they give MJ Dark a 12 watt hour battery since battery is not important to him.
See, but this is your mistake. You think when we say battery is not the most important thing,
No.
but it's not important
Hey,
at all. It is important.
Umbilical cord gamers, go ahead.
Listen to this guy. He's got a name for everybody. Anyway, you know. Well, okay. So if that's the case, I will call you, and this is my new one. Paypig / launcher bigot.
There you go. There you go. I like it.
Anyway,
It's true though.
as for me, like I said, Soldiers, I've been super enjoying it. And pro tip before we get out of here, if you really want to play Soldiers, it is 59 cents on CD
wow.
keys.
Yeah, that's
5.9. Like, it's insane. I kind of feel bad telling you that because the developer deserves more money for this game. But he put it out there. It's been out for some years. You know, CD keys ain't getting it illegally or something. 59 freaking cents. It's insane of a steal. I've been playing this for hours at this point. Amazing game. People should check it out. But Mr. John Wolf, where will people be able to find you? What else you got going on this week, sir?
Nothing, brother. Just gonna sit back and just try to work on just trying to get the handheld experience where I want it to be. There's a lot of tweaking that gets involved in that, and like I said, it's yep, and it's and it's personal for everyone, you know. So
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm on my own journey. Me and you are gonna be working together sometime to kind of work on some things about sharing files across all the devices I have, because I want to get to that moment, and as well just.
You know another way you can share a file across multiple devices.
How's that?
OneDrive, which is an Office 365.
Oh, there you go.
I see you, Lucius.
There you go. So,
anyway.
but what he would tell you is at least give me the option to put it if I want it. Don't put it there on default.
Sure.
I understand
I'll feel
that.
you on that.
So hit me up on Twitter, guys. And as well as Discord, you'll see me posting in there a lot more. I'm trying to distance myself a little bit from Twitter because it's become kind of non-gaming focused during this season. And we all know why. That's okay. Not a problem with that, but I'm kind of just want to concentrate on gaming conversations. So I'll be on Discord a lot, guys, and come and hang out with us. I'm gonna post that link one more time right now in the chat, and we'll be, randomly. What I'm planning on doing, Kay, is maybe popping up on the chat, and just starting up a conversation on whatever the community wants to talk about. If any news drops or anything like that, we'll be in there. So come hang out, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Absolutely. And as for me, you can find me actually this week. I might be doing some traveling here and there. It may not affect the show. I'm thinking of bringing, funny enough, because I have this device, I will be podcasting from this device.
Oh, nice.
So yes, I will bring this. I'll set it up, get my cam as usual. Maybe my mic might be a little bit of a changed experience.
It'll be okay.
Bringing the big dog, but yes, you'll find me. I'll be in parts unknown in the United States, and just for a little week, a little excursion. But I'll be here next Monday night. We will definitely be back here. Myself and my brother, Mr. John Wolf. We will be having another conversation with you folks. Oh, another thing I should promote. This Saturday on the Gaming Circle podcast, we'll feature the one and only Khalif Adams. He is come on.
Nice.
I'm excited to have him on. Hopefully we will have some great evergreen conversations to talk to him about. Looking forward to chopping it up with him. So hopefully, we'll get all those logistics worked out. Other than that, the only thing I will tell you is, I'll be in Germany at the end of this month with Gamescom.
Nice.
Hopefully I'll get a chance to meet up with some great content creators that from all the other sides of the ponds that we always tend to communicate with. I'm looking forward to meeting Risket for the Biscuit, who will be there as well. So yeah, it'll be fun, and I'm gonna try and gather as much content as I can, put it on the channel, stuff like that. But we will be back here bright and early. We'll try to do it every Monday as much as possible and have more handheld PC gaming and otherwise talk for you. But it's been fun. It's been great. I think our show is growing exponentially as we speak. Between Twitter and YouTube, we have about 290 people watching right now,
and it's all about conversation, guys. It's all about conversation. So that's why we want as many people to join us as possible.
Absolutely. We appreciate y'all for watching, whether you're on Twitter or you're on YouTube. It's always fun. We come here, we come with talk, but we also come asking you what your questions are, what you want to have answered, because we want to make it an approachable conversation between both the chat and us. Before I leave, I will close out the poll, and you'll be happy with this poll. Ready? Handhelds. What is your priority, right? And the three options were battery life, PC entry point, or other, right? And of our chat, 51 people voted, and 55% say battery life, right?
I mean,
but between the other two, 22% said other, which is something other than those two, and 24% said entry point. So if you combine the two other and entry point, it's about even. So half the people say battery life, the other half say something else. This is the point I'm making.
Understood.
So there you go.
But battery still won. Here. Go ahead.
No, battery did not win.
But battery was still the most important. Go ahead.
Sure. Thank y'all for being here. See y'all next week. And as we do, we say keep it gaming. Peace.